Okay, year 12, I'd like you to open up it's one of the earlier comparisons in your booklets. If you open up the booklet, you'll see all of the information at the start, then your thin spreads grid, then the extracts with the waggle beside them, and then the extract that we're going to do today. You'll see it reads at the top, you have 26 minutes in which to read both texts and respond to the task below. And then in bold, compare and contrast how the writers of texts A and B have helped to convey a sense of drama. And that is, of course, then our key term, a sense of drama. So we'll be looking the whole time in how the authors have used language to establish that drama. And the question finishes present supporting evidence from both texts, which indicates to us that they're looking for us to use PEE. So I'm going to read through the extract first of all. Make sure you have it open in front of you in your booklets. And then we're going to annotate it together. So let's read it first of all. So text A or text 1. The door starts shaking. It's a flimsy thing made of bamboo shoots held together with tattered lengths of twine. The shake is subtle and stops almost immediately. They lift their heads to listen. A 14-year-old boy and a 50-year-old man, who everyone thinks is his father, but who was born near a different jungle on a different planet, hundreds of light years away. They are lying shirtless on opposite sides of the hut, a mosquito net over each cot. They hear a distant crash, like the sound of an animal breaking the branch of a tree, but in this case, it sounds like the entire tree has been broken. What was that? The boy asks. Shh, the man replies. They hear the chirp of insects, nothing more. The man brings his legs over the side of the cot when the shake starts again. A longer, firmer shake and another crash, this time closer. The man gets to his feet and walks slowly to the door. Silence. The man takes a deep breath as he inches his hand to the latch. The boy sits up. No, the man whispers. So this is extract 1. Hopefully you can see there's an awful lot going on in it. As I hope you remember with reading literary texts, we always begin with narrative voice. And in this case, it's quite clear we have no I voice. We've no narrator who's also the protagonist who's telling us the story. We are watching this man and this boy, and therefore we know that it is third-person narrative. And third-person narrative gives a detailed description of the scene and creates a distance between the protagonists and the reader. It allows for that really effective detailed description, and it's also good for building up tension. It really heightens the stakes of the story. So we start with that third-person narrative. Then we begin working through the extract chronologically. So as I hope you can see, the extract begins with a dramatic short sentence. The door starts shaking. And there the problem is immediately indicated. They're obviously inside. They're in a place of safety. That's where the extract begins. And the door, which should prevent danger, begins shaking. And so that dramatic short sentence immediately introduces the reader to the nature of the danger that they are facing. And then in the next sentence, we have two negative, have a think, flimsy and tattered. What types of words are they? They're adjectives. These negative adjectives which create a sense of insecurity and threat. If your protection, your house is flimsy and tattered, then we have this sense that danger can easily affect us, that things are insecure. As we read on then, we find out that our two protagonists, the two people we're interested in, are a 14-year-old boy and a 50-year-old man. And then as the author begins to reveal more about this man, we discover that he is from a different planet on a different jungle. And when a word is used more than once, that is repetition. So we have a repeated adjective, which suggests now again, you would avoid words like weird. You would instead describe this as unique or original, or a kind of unconventional position of the two protagonists. Is this boy and a man who look after each other, but they are not related. So this is kind of a unique relationship between the two characters that we're faced with. And then the tension and the sense of danger heightens when they hear a distant crash. And of course, any imagery that uses the sense of sound, crash, is called auditory imagery. Think of the audio on your computer or on your phone, auditory imagery. And that is introducing this increased risk or increased danger. We now have a crash, and that crash is like the sound of an animal breaking the branch of a tree. And we know that any comparison beginning with like or as is of course a simile, and that simile creates imagery of destruction, breaking the branch of a tree. And we're even thinking as well, if it's an animal, it's something that's kind of untamed or unpredictable, which really heightens the sense of danger and drama. Then we have our first piece of dialogue. What was that? The boy asks. Now be careful, this dialogue is not a rhetorical question, because of course the boy is expecting an answer. He doesn't know what it was. So that dialogue creates a tone of confusion as the boy tries to figure out what is going on, what is happening to them. Then as we read on, the sense of a kind of eerie, uneasy quiet happens. So the author uses this focus on sound. First of all, we have the onomatopoeic chirp of the insects. So again, more use of auditory imagery. The onomatopoeic sounds. The chirp of the insects, which is then contrasted or juxtaposed with the silence. And of course that creates a really eerie atmosphere, and that is also a one-word sentence. So lots and lots to talk about here as the kind of tension and drama increases and escalates. That's shown through the repetition of the verb shake here. So we have the shake starts again, a longer, firmer shake, and then a crash. So here we have this real sense of drama and danger, which is escalating or getting worse. And finally then we have the man's efforts to resolve this, or to find the solution to it. So we're told he takes a deep breath as he inches his hand to the latch. That verb inches suggests his hesitancy or his uncertainty about what to do, and his feeling of fear as he doesn't want to provoke any further kind of violence. And so this extract ultimately ends with ellipsis, which, as you can probably guess, creates a cliffhanger, because we don't know what the shake is, we don't know what the outcome of the extract is. It's all left in this state of the unknown. So that is extract 1. We'll now move on and look at the second one. Make sure you have all those annotations down. Okay, so this is text B or text 2, which we need to compare and contrast with that first extract that we've just annotated. So let's start by reading it together. Remember, this is from a completely different story, and we're looking for similarities and differences with the first one. I'm woken from the depths of a deep and dreamless sleep by the uneasy feeling that something's wrong. I lie in the darkness, listening to the sound of Jeff's breathing, trying to work out what it is. The pain in my throat, yes. And when I put my fingers to my throat to investigate, I find the bandage round my neck. Now I remember, everything's wrong. Millie's weeping, Dee's pressing her hands to her ears, Keith's intent face in front of mine, the policeman who'll be coming in the morning to talk to me, the scarf that the policeman will find when he comes. Yes, where is it? I sit up in bed in a panic. I can't remember what I've done with it. I've left it lying around somewhere for anyone to find. I scrabble under the pillow, my heart cold. No, there it is, just where I shoved it, smeared with dried blood, when my mother put me to bed and I, at last, opened my clenched hand. At once I see the policeman searching the bedroom, opening the toy cupboard, turning back the bedding. I'll have to find somewhere better to find it. So quite different. And the first and hopefully the most obvious difference is in the narrative voice. You'll remember that text A was in third person. This, however, is in first person. This is I'm woken from the depths. And first person narrative gives the reader access to the protagonist's thoughts and feelings. So we're able to hear how they feel about the situation, their changing emotions, and it also forces us to empathise with them because the story depends on them. And as we look at the opening of this story, a further similarity is that both open in a safe setting, or what we hope to be a safe setting. In fact, both of them begin with the people inside, right? They're inside, it seems to be in both cases, their house. And this protagonist has just woken from the depths of a deep and dreamless sleep. Those alliterative adjectives actually create an opening sense of peace and security. Deep and dreamless sleep, that's what we all want, isn't it? So it's this sense of security which the text opens with, which is immediately juxtaposed with this uneasy feeling, which is made clear through this adjective, uneasy, right? The uneasy feeling, which creates that dramatic tonal shift from peace and security to something more ominous and foreboding. So this is more of an ominous adjective, the uneasy feeling. And then they're trying to figure out what it is. They listen to another character breathing, and then suddenly it's this bodily reaction of the pain in my throat, which causes the protagonist to remember what happened, what the problem was. And the author here uses dashes to slow down the pace. This use of punctuation, dashes slow the pace as the protagonist slowly remembers all that has happened. And that is reinforced, the kind of final revelation, through this hyperbole. Everything's wrong. That hyperbolized revelation. A revelation is like a sudden sense of understanding, and that's really exaggerated here. This sense of tragedy. Everything's wrong. And then we have this very protracted, which means drawn out list of names of the characters who are involved: Millie, Dee, Keith, and the policeman. So this protracted list suggests the protracted understanding of everything that's gone wrong, of all the people that have been affected. And in particular, the reference of the policeman, I think you could compare with the shaking in extract A, because that's when we finally get this effort of, or this kind of understanding, I know what's wrong. So that's kind of what's happening in the middle of both extracts, is that the protagonists are trying to piece together the reality. They're trying to figure out what the problem is. And again, we have this kind of sense of confusion, just as we had in text A. Remember, the boy asks the man, what was that about the crash? And here, the protagonist, she's not asking, or he, well, we don't know if it's a he or a she, but they're not asking anyone in particular, where is it? This is their thoughts. And you may remember, when we hear a character's thoughts, that is called internal monologue. So we have this internal monologue of a rhetorical question, and that is a rhetorical question because there's nobody there to answer it. Where is it? That rhetorical question creates a tone of panic. We know that there's something urgent that needs to be resolved. And their sense of urgency, sense of panic, is reinforced through the repeated exclamation marks. So exclamation marks there creating a tone of urgency as we know something needs to be done. That powerful verb scrabble, then, I scrabble under my pillow, further reinforces the panic, the urgency, and the sense that things need to be resolved quickly. There's a kind of desperation here. And then finally at the end, the protagonist, the main character, finds this scarf. What we're kind of piecing together is an incriminating piece of evidence, something that makes them look guilty. And they find it smeared with dry blood. Appropriately, they're highlighted in red. This is the use of visceral imagery to create a kind of tone of gore. The reference to blood alerts the reader to the fact that the protagonist has done something wrong, which they're trying to cover up. So you can see there, that's a real comparison with text A. In text A, the boy is innocent. He is kind of a victim of something terrifying that is happening to him that's outside of his control. Whereas in text B, it's suggested that the character has done something wrong and is trying to cover up their role in a potential crime. And that is obviously why they worry about the policeman searching the bedroom, opening the toy cupboard and turning back the bedding. In this case, we have a tripartite list of verbs: searching, opening and turning. That tripartite list of verbs underlines this fear of investigation, and I suppose the concerns about being suspected of a crime. It's unclear whether the protagonist committed the crime, but there is certainly imagery of a crime created through the reference to the policeman and those verbs which describe what the policeman will do. And so, in a similar way to the first extract, this one also ends with a cliffhanger. Again, there's an ellipsis, another real definite comparison there. And then I'll have to find somewhere better to hide it. The problem is unresolved, just as it was unresolved in the first one. We don't know what caused the bang, that shake and crash. And in text B, we don't know what crime has been committed. So that's your comparison between the two. Lots and lots of language features to talk about, and in particular, a lot of focus there needed on word choices, on adjectives and verbs that really stand out to us. And there's also an awful lot of dramatic punctuation that's been used. Have a go at writing up your comparison between the two, focusing on the narrative voice, the openings, how the extract develops, and then how they both end.